Good afternoon, guys, and happy Saturday to all of your sunshiny faces. So as I think I mentioned to you guys in yesterday's vlog, maybe last couple days, over the week, I think we were going to go and pick up some of the furniture. I told you guys that my aunt was like downsizing, and so she's getting rid of a lot of her stuff, like furniture, like couches, and like I think one of the beds, like twin beds, some other stuff too. So she actually had a couch set. She had the love seat upstairs, and then she had the like couch, like 3-person like sofa kind of thing downstairs, and she had a different couch that was upstairs. But we ended up actually taking that. It's in our living room now, so I'll either share that with you guys or possibly take a picture or something like that and share with you guys what the, you know, the living room kind of situation looks like with the couches and stuff like that in there. And they're in really good shape, and they're super comfy too, guys. I think my aunt ended up getting them when they ended up moving in. They ended up moving into that place. Jack doesn't remember their old house. I do, and it was like where my aunt and uncle kind of almost grew up, like her kids. And so like I remember like they lived there for like forever. But she ended up, I think they moved there, I want to say that like maybe 2006 or 7 or something like that. Like, I mean, maybe all of her grandkids might have been born by that time, but I don't entirely remember. I remember that it wasn't like before Jack was born, so again to maybe like 2007, 8, something like that. And like I said, I think they said that they got that set around that time, and they're super comfy. My mom was also thinking too of getting like slip covers kind of for them, just because of the dogs, and again too, they tend to like to go up on the furniture, and we don't really tend to keep them off the furniture. You know, like I like snuggling with my puppies, and they like, you know, as I say that too, they're currently on my bed, so like we're not really the type of people that likes to keep them off furniture, but we also like to try and protect the furniture too. And you know, again, getting like slip covers, that kind of stuff, just to preserve it. And it's a little bit cheaper to replace a slip cover that maybe the dogs, you know, again too, their claws have gotten into, or you know, again too, just from shedding and hair and like all that kind of stuff, just to keep the actual like sofas and, you know, couches, love seat, you know, all that kind of stuff a little bit more protected. You know, the furniture than the slip cover, which again too is a little cheaper, much cheaper to replace. So that's why again too, like even in my room I have a dog blanket that I let the dog sleep on at, you know, what's supposed to be the foot of my bed. Charlie's trying to creep off of it onto my comforter, that I just washed yesterday because there was a bunch of dog hair. It's actually really bad right now though, because the dogs are shedding like their winter coat, so I feel like it's a lot worse. But I just washed my comforter yesterday because I was like, there's a lot of dog hair, it feels like, on here. So like I said, I ended up doing that, and then I also did more laundry today. But we ended up going, and we left at, I want to say 9 o'clock or so, to go over to my aunt's house. We ended up picking up the furniture and stuff like that and everything, and then my dad left earlier this morning to go and pick up the truck that we rented, which I guess was pretty reasonable too, which is nice. But we just used it for, again, to like the one day, you know, it was a few hour thing, so that was also helpful too. It wasn't like a multi-day kind of rental or anything. But we ended up, again, to loading up all the furniture, which is funny too, because like when I see the truck out on the street, I'm like, oh, it seems like it's small. I was like, is it gonna fit everything? And then they load up just the couch, which was probably the biggest piece of furniture, and I was like, holy cow, this, like, you know, truck could, you know, it was just a little, you know, like box truck kind of thing, and I was like, oh my goodness, this could fit so much stuff in here. So we had that. There was also a chair, and then also, like I said, to the bed, that my aunt wasn't, she has 2 twin like beds down in her basement, and she was going to keep one of them because where she's moving into is, I think, a 2-bedroom place, and so she'll have like a guest room, kind of like a study office, you know, she'll have like a desk or whatever, possibly, if she wants to, in there, and then like the primary bedroom. But it's 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So like I was saying too, she planned on keeping one of the beds for, like, you know, again, stay over kind of, you know, again, friends or whatever, just guest room type stuff. But she said she didn't have much use for the other one, so that's why we ended up taking that one. And then I also updated her on the photo progress that I've been making as well. I told her I'm probably actually close to being maybe about like 75% done with everything, which I think is pretty good because, you know, again, like the only thing that I have not touched yet so far has been the vacation photos, but everything else is like at least slightly organized. Like I have everything sorted kind of, I was telling you guys, you know, slightly organized, and then I've been starting to refine the, like, you know, again, to the pictures, and I was doing a lot of the more difficult ones, I feel like, which were the older photos, like the, you know, probably anything from 1950s to like 1930s we had photos of, you know, family and stuff like that. And the more difficult thing is that, you know, there's only like a couple photos or whatever from like some family, but it's like on all sides, because, you know, again too, there was like my great grandma's, you know, like side of the family, and like my great grandma's mom side of the family, there's my great grandma's dad side of the family, and so, like, you know, again too, there's a lot of different photos from either of those sides, and like my great grandpa's side of the family, and then, you know, like, and even then too, like that, so that's my aunt's side of the family, you know, but then her husband, then there's my uncle, who's again my aunt's husband, his side of the family too, which we've always been pretty close with them, so like even those older photos, my mom's been able to pretty much identify everybody in those photos too, so we haven't had much trouble like being like, who is this person or who's that person or whatever. For the most part, my mom's been like, oh, that's so-and-so or that's so-and-so or whatever, from like my uncle's side of the family. So, but again too, I've been trying to do like those older photos and breaking them up more by family, or at least trying to, and then trying to refine some of them too, because like on my great grandma's side of the family, she is one of 8 children, so there's a lot of family members, and then there's also pictures of like the cousins, so like my grandma and my aunts, like cousins and stuff like that, because like, for example, one of my other close aunts is actually my great grandma's sister's daughter, and like her and my aunt were always really close, and like my grandma and stuff like that, but then like those 2 sisters were really close as well, so like again too, obviously their kids grew up, which was my grandma and my aunt grew up with her daughter, and you know, she had 2 sons as well, but like we're really close with them as also, and close with like that, you know, sister, some family that's lived like out of state or out of, you know, town, you know, again, most of us live out of town, but you know, just like further away and stuff like that as well. So, but there's photos of like all of those, like again to the first grandchild that was, you know, again to the oldest sister's son, you know, like that kind of stuff. There's a lot of those photos, so I'm like, should I try and also break it down then by, you know, because there's so much from just that one family side, should I break that down maybe a little bit more to like more of like when those kids and like the aunts and stuff like that, like before really they started getting married, and you know, that like they had any kids or anything like that, and then once like more the grandkids kind of, which would be like my aunt and grandma, and you know, again too, like all of those cousins came along, like those photos like kind of just separate them maybe a little bit by like that era. And then also too, like family photos, which would have like my great grandparents, my aunt, my grandma in them. So again too, that was how I was organizing them yesterday. It was working out really well, but then we had to move everything so that we can move all the furniture today. So I didn't do any of that, you know, I didn't get any of that organized, but I've been trying to like kind of keep her updated, and she said that it sounds really good, that, you know, again too, she's like, I know it's a lot of work, because I know my mom said at one point they went through together as a family a lot of the photos, and there's a lot of writing on the backs of a lot of especially the old photos, where they were like identifying all the people in them. They would be like, oh, this was so-and-so, or this was aunt so-and-so, or, you know, uncle, you know, so-and-so. Yes, they're related. But, you know, like that kind of thing, just like going through all of those photos and trying to figure out who's in them. And so at one point, like, I know that they did that, and they ended up, you know, like organizing them at that point. My mom says she remembers when they were doing this like all together as like a family. Like my mom was saying how like people were, you know, helping to identify the photos so that we could keep like kind of accurate records, I guess, of the people that were in them. So again, like she was like, I know, like, again, too, probably meaning like when they ended up doing that one time, that it was kind of, you know, tough, because like some of them have my mom's handwriting on them, and then some of them have my grandma's handwriting, and then others have my aunt's handwriting on them. So like you can tell like that there were different people that were like wrote things on different ones, that were maybe responsible for like a chunk of photos or something like that, and like identifying the people and writing down who they were and stuff like that. So I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to like identify and then write all the stuff down on the backs of them. I really don't like to do that personally. I don't like to write on the back of the photos. I would rather, like, for me personally, again, too, nowadays would rather scan all those photos digitally and keep a digital record of them in that way, and, you know, name out all the people that I can identify from them, and, you know, that kind of stuff. I just don't like writing on them, because in some cases too, that it can bleed through. You can get, you know, if you apply too much pressure, a handful of those photos had that, where like you can see like the bumps of the writing from the actual photo side. So I didn't want to do that, and I also didn't want to ruin any of her photos if something like that happens. So I'm just doing as best I can with like kind of the clumps of photos that I have, and if they already have something that's written on the back, like then the next photo next to it might not, but you know that it's kind of from the same like photo time, if that makes sense. But on top of that too, she did find, while she was cleaning out, a stack of more photos, and I was like, as I was looking through them, I was like, oh, I know exactly when that photo goes with, or you know what clump of photos that would go with, you know, like that kind of thing. And she was like, oh, you know, if you have any trouble identifying anyone, you can ask me and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I think I know everybody almost in most of these photos, because they were like ones that probably went along with other ones that I had already seen and stuff like that. So again too, I know that there's potentially more photos that still actually have to be organized into all of that, but that is okay. Like I said, I feel like good progress. It's taken me a while. I feel like I'm getting close to at least being done with what I can, and then if there's stuff where I'm like, I just don't know who this is, I just can't really organize these photos, or you know, again, something like that, whatever it might be, I just, you know, I'm like gonna be like, okay, these are like maybe unidentified photos, but maybe I still know that they're from like, again, a certain era or something like that. You know, I could be like, oh, these are definitely from the 90s, but I don't know when, so I could just be like 90s question mark, you know, or something like that, or 90s-ish, you know, is probably what I'll put on some of them. But you know, just in like an envelope, and then keep those sorted away that way. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we were up to today. I got only a few hours of sleep last night. Have to get up tomorrow so we can go to the grocery stores, and then we're also going out for Matthew's birthday dinner tomorrow, or kind of lunch, I guess. But I will see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.